Welcome to City of Churches. Now, here on City of Churches, we take you on an in-depth tour of different churches in the Brooklyn Diocese, and we also explore their surrounding neighborhoods. Now, today, I'm going to share with you a story of a Brooklyn parish's sacred vow to the Blessed Virgin Mary, and something else. It's called the Miracle of Brooklyn, and we'll uncover that as well. Today I'm in Southwest Brooklyn to visit the shrine of Rosalia Regina Pacis. Now, this parish was established in 1904, and then several years later, the shrine was built. Something interesting about this is that normally a church is comprised of the church and the rectory. In this case, there's also this magnificent shrine, which is something we really haven't seen before. Another interesting fact about this shrine is the neighborhood it's located in. Residents of Bensonhurst, Dyker Heights, and Borough Park all want to lay claim, but if you look at a map, it's actually centrally located in all three neighborhoods. I'm here on the corner of New Utrecht Avenue and 54th Street. We're about 2 blocks from the church. This entire neighborhood's history can be traced back to the early Dutch settlers in the 1600s. Now, they originally named this area New Utrecht in honor of their 4th largest city back in the Netherlands. Most of this area remained farmland and open fields into the 19th century, but with the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge in 1886, all that rural space quickly vanished and was replaced by these newly constructed buildings. In 1898, Brooklyn officially became part of New York City. By the early 1900s, all the remaining farmland was replaced by factory-type buildings and urban housing designed to accommodate all the immigrants that were coming in and their families. Here we are at the Church of St. Rosalia. It's located on the corner of 63rd Street and 14th Avenue. The church was built in 1904 and 1905. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of unusual for a parish to have 2 different houses of worship. And to discover why, we have to go back more than 70 years. Japan's sneak attack on Pearl Harbor back in 1941 killed nearly 3,000 Americans, and I'm sure the sentiment of anger and frustration and fear is not that unlike our own tragic experience here in New York with 9/11 and the attacks on the World Trade Center. Today, we're going to discover how the United States' involvement in World War II led to the construction of this magnificent shrine of peace dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary, Regina Pacis. Despite all the confusion about which neighborhood it's in, I found it, so it can't be too difficult. Now, the first thing you notice when you get here, at least I did, was this 150-foot tall limestone steeple. There's a door over there that says Mary, the Mother of the Unborn. It's a small chapel, and I want to find out about that a little bit later. Another thing the shrine added, which was a good touch, was the wheelchair ramp behind me, and they designed that to match the design of the church, so it was a pretty nice touch. Let's go inside. Monsignor Marino's waiting for us to give us a tour, and he'll answer all our questions. Come on. Monsignor.
Hi, Nick.
How are you? I'm good, thank you.
Welcome to Regina Pacis.
Thank you, and thanks so much for taking the time to show us around and
My pleasure.
give me some history in the tour. And I'm going to jump right into it. When I was walking up here, I heard the tolling of the bells from this beautiful bell tower. Maybe we can start with the history of that.
Sure. The bell tower is 150 feet tall. It's the tallest thing around here, and it contains 3 bells. Still the original bells are there. The first one is called Ave Maria, the small one, which is 900 pounds.
That's the smaller one.
Small one. The second one is called Salve Regina, and it's 2,000 pounds. And the third one is called Regina Pacis, and it's 3,000 pounds. And they were dedicated in 1951 when the church was dedicated. and they ring every hour and every half hour, and we use them on special occasions for the call to prayer, etc.
This was built by Italians, or who actually built that?
This was built by Italians. The actual builders were Italian, the architect was Italian, you know, and those kind of people who were the brains behind the thing were Italian, especially the pastor, whose dream it was to build this church. He started to plan the church in the 1940s, and then in 1948 they started to build the church. When you come in the church, one of the first things you see in the church are these words, which are Beata Pacis Visio, which means these doors are going to lead you to the blessed vision of peace. And by the way, next to that is the picture of Monsignor Cioffi. He's the founder of the church. He's the pastor who dreamt it and built it and got the money and got his vision. And as you'll see when we go in, his vision was tremendous.
Okay.
So now,
this is something I wouldn't have expected in Brooklyn.
I want to
like
show you something.
Before.
It says in Latin, "On the way to peace."
On the way
in other
to
words,
peace.
now we're on the way to peace. And where is the peace? Here in the church.
Okay.
This was made as a vow to Our Lady for peace in the world. That's why it's called Queen of Peace, Regina Pacis. And the people made the vow that they would build a church for peace in the world.
Let's talk about, if we could, some of the architecture, the marble you had mentioned on some of the columns.
There are 30 different types of marble used in this church. And the pastor who was building this church, he went over to Italy more than once to choose marble from the quarry that he wanted in his church. This was a very, very Italian neighborhood, so everything had to look Italian to the people. The beautiful windows that are around the church, magnificent, beautiful windows.
They really are.
Which were made in New Jersey by a company in New Jersey.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Is that right?
They depict the Litany of Loretto, so they're all signs of Our Lady of Loretto.
Normally we hear that they're imported, they're not made in New Jersey. That's something very original. So
exactly.
That's
but what I found out was that where the company in New Jersey got the colors was from all over the world. For example, the blues in all the windows are from Italy. The reds are from Germany and Belgium. And I found out in my research that that company would take, to get the proper balance of colors, would choose glasses from all over the world. And this is the result of that. Around the church, there is, like many churches in Italy, many big cathedrals, there are words written all around the church, prayers. You know, so here it says, Queen of Peace of the world, listen to your children who cry out to you. And on that side it says, Blessed Virgin Mother, we give you thanks, you are our hope. But it's in Latin. But in those days, the people would have known what the Latin meant. That's the original organ. It's the original organ that was put in when they built the church. It needs repairs here and there, and we do it, but it still works. It's beautiful. Above the organ is the rose window. The famous, most big basilicas have a rose window.
Right.
And that one shows Our Lady Queen of Peace. And you can see like a sunburst out the sides around her. And again, you see the blues and all the beautiful colors. It's a very magnificent rose window. This ceiling, the main ceiling, it took 3 years for the painter to paint that picture. And it is a picture of Mary being crowned Queen of Heaven, Queen of Peace. And looking down, you see the Holy Spirit above Mary, God the Father and God the Son crowning her, okay? And rays coming down. You see angels and saints all around. Then you see a picture of the church up there because it's a picture of the shrine of the Queen of Peace being offered to her. And in the center of that picture is Pope Pius XII, who was the Pope at the time, symbolically offering to Mary this church. On the left, you can see people, some saints, but one of them that isn't a saint was Archbishop Malloy, who happened to be the Bishop of Brooklyn at the time.
Right. Okay.
And then on the other side, if you look alongside the saints, you can see a picture of Monsignor Cioffi himself. He had himself painted up there, and the people behind him were local parishioners at the time.
Who inspires like the architecture like this? I mean, it's glorious.
Well, the facade outside is like the shrine of Our Lady of Loreto in Italy, which is a big, big thing for Italians, okay? And Our Lady of Pompeii is what the front of the church looks like. And, you know, that's the architectural style. It's Italian Renaissance architecture.
Italian Renaissance.
Yeah, but modeled after the facade of Our Lady of Pompeii. The detail in here, all the paintings and all the colors and what was going to be, was personally managed by Monsignor Cioffi.
Yeah, I was going to say, who just sits back and says, let's do this? Like, here's the idea to do that.
This artist that painted this, his name was Ignazio La Russa, and it took him 3 years to paint, as I said earlier. And in those days, Monsignor Cioffi wanted drafts of whatever was going to be here. He didn't just say to the artist, go ahead and paint. To make a draft, there was no Xerox machine,
right?
There was no scanner, so the painter had to paint. And here you can see, as we approach the altar, you can see the chapels and special side altars. This one is for the Franciscan saints primarily. Okay. So you see St. Anthony in the middle, St. Francis of Assisi next to him, and then recently we put Padre Pio, St. Padre Pio, and St. Jude and Our Lady of Mount Carmel. But again, if you notice the marble, the different color marble around the alcoves, etc. And then look at the window, the round windows. This one is the window of the Annunciation. So you can see the Holy Spirit coming upon Mary and the angel Gabriel announcing that she's going to be the mother of the Savior. A very beautiful, beautiful window. And then if you look up here, you see that lady dressed in black. Mm-hmm. That's St. Frances Xavier Cabrini. She's the patron saint of immigrants. And she was canonized a saint in 1950 while this church was being built. So they put her right up there. So she's the first American saint because she became an American citizen. And on this side, this alcove here, you see pretty much Our Lady, statues of Our Lady. Our Lady of Fatima in the center, Our Lady of Grace, etc. And you can see again the beautiful marble, the beautiful artwork around the statue. And you can look above and see that window, which is my favorite, which is the window of the Nativity. Again, a very beautiful, now the morning light is shining through it and you can see. But one of the interesting things about that window is there's something in the window, in the picture, that you don't usually see when you see the Nativity. And that is, you see the lamb underneath, tied up. Yep. The lamb is the symbol of Christ, the sacrificial lamb, that baby was going to become the sacrificial lamb. So he's already tied up, the lamb.
And that's something you don't see?
No, most of them
often.
just show the nativity scene, but you don't always see the lamb. And that prefigures his sacrificial death and resurrection. Before we even step into the sanctuary area here, take a look at this inlaid marble. Again, a different type of marble, beautiful, beautiful greens and beautiful inlaid. As beautiful as the rest of the church was, now you're into the area.
It's a very grand entranceway into the most important area.
Absolutely. Okay. So as we go up here, again, everything here is marble. All the steps, all the floor, and if you look, you can see the beautiful olive branches around the altar. Again, the olive branch is the symbol of peace. And you can see these pulpits, again, made out of marble, beautiful marble, with inlaid mosaics. One has the doctors of the church, the other has the four evangelists. There's two pulpits, beautifully carved right into the marble. When this was built, this altar was not there. It was before Vatican II, when you had the priest facing the wall, until the 1960s, when the Vatican Council made us turn around and speak English. Okay. So,
I gotcha.
Now, if you come this way, I want to show you a little bit better this part, which is the centerpiece of the church. First, if you look at the steps, this black onyx marble, and leading up to the altar, you can see the tabernacle is onyx, Egyptian onyx, cut out of one piece of stone. The columns, the 4 columns of marble that are holding like a throne to the picture of Our Lady Queen of Peace, Regina Pacis. And those marble columns, among the 30 types of marble, those are special. Then you see above the tabernacle, there is the most famous picture of Regina Pacis, Our Lady Queen of Peace, holding on her knee the baby Jesus, who's holding in his hand an olive branch, the sign of peace.
And this is the same painter?
No, this is a different painter. This man, his name was Ilario Panzeroni, and he painted this when he was 93 years old.
Wow.
Okay? And this was not the first draft either. And just to give you a little interesting tidbit, when this was painted, the draft, we have it inside. It looks just like that, except for one little detail. The baby Jesus is holding the olive branch pointed down, and Monsignor wanted it pointed up. Made him redo the whole thing.
And he's 93. I mean, you would think.
That's right. It was his last, his last masterpiece.
It's incredible.
But more importantly, the people gave their diamonds and their jewelry and all this other stuff. Well, after the church was paid for and they had a lot of this jewelry left over, they melted down the gold and the precious stones. They popped them out of the things, and they made 2 beautiful, beautiful crowns. And one of them was put on the Blessed Mother's head, and it's a tiara made of 18-karat gold, melted down, and filled with precious diamonds and precious stones. And the baby Jesus has a smaller one on his head. And there's a famous part of the history of this church. They put those crowns up in 1952 in May, so a year after the church was built. And a week later, they were stolen. Someone actually broke into the church, went up there, pulled them off the pictures. Think of the emotion of the mothers that gave their thing, their jewelries, etc., for the protect my son, protect my daughter, who was a soldier. And then they were so proud of that. Then they disappeared. So the people prayed and prayed and prayed, of course, that the police would find them and, you know, that we would be able to get them back again. And by special delivery, 10 days later, the crowns were returned unharmed. Oh, and they called it the miracle of Brooklyn, that the crowns came back.
Right.
But
thanks
then
be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Yeah.
The Monsignor said to the people, Our Lady did a miracle for us and brought back the jewels and the crowns that we had. So in order to thank her for bringing our crowns back, I would like you to give me 1,000 diamonds, more, so that we could make 12 stars to go around Our Lady's picture, the diadem of 12 stars. The people gave him the 1,000 diamonds, and he made 12 diamond stars with sapphire jewels in the middle. We put up all that jewelry once a year so that the people can see it, learn about it, know that we still have them all. We didn't sell them and wouldn't dare.
And then it's protected, obviously.
And it's protected, obviously. We can't keep it up there because I don't want it to be stolen. The Holy Spirit carrying the olive branch is the symbol of peace, but around him is other Latin words that are my favorite of all in this church. It says on it, it's hard to see because it's gold on the marble, but it says, Monstra te esse matram, show yourself to be a mother. And I think of all the prayers and all the things that were said, that one says a lot. Mary, show yourself to be a mother, because everyone understood what a mother's love for her son and daughter, a soldier, would be, and how much a mother would be worried about and looking to protect her children. So show yourself to be a mother. I think anybody who comes to Regina Pacis here in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, and just walks in, the church is open all day. People walk in here and they react like you did. Wow, look at this.
It's magnificent. I mean, you can't, you know.
And you feel the presence of God. You know, a church is supposed to make you feel the presence of God. You feel it. and your eyes are immediately drawn up, and your eyes are drawn up to that picture. And as you saw at the door of the church, this is the way to peace, it said. And this was the way to peace. We walked the way to peace today. And
yes, we did.
but I think I want to take you to see the chapel.
Let's
So
do it.
let's go to see the chapel.
Okay.
So here's the chapel that I was telling you about as the big surprise here at Regina Pacis. We're the only church that has this chapel to Mary, Mother of the Unborn. And this is a relatively new devotion, started here in 1989, here. And when we put this devotion together, we saw it as not just for the unborn babies who are aborted, but for the many Catholic couples who are trying to have babies and can't, or have difficulty or whatever, a place where pregnant couples could come and pray. That's what this was for as well. So the word unborn covers everybody.
And when did you establish this? Or when was
In
this?
1989.
And prior to 1989, what was
This
that?
was the baptistry. You see the baptism font?
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't used because from 1960 something we had to do baptisms in the main church. So this became a storeroom.
You're kidding.
And then when we
This
wanted
was
to
storage?
Yeah. When we wanted to start the devotion to Mary, we had to find a place since there are so many Madonnas in the church. So we cleaned this up, this room, and made it a special chapel. You should know that this statue, there is no Mary, Mother of the Unborn that you could buy in a store. So we had to get a statue and make it such. And I picked this statue out, and this statue cost $1,500. And I asked the priests of the diocese, I told them what we were doing, and I told them, listen, since we can't have children of our own, why don't we chip in and pay for this statue as our gift to the couples that are trying to have a baby? And they did, sent all kinds of money. And in here are buried, I put in the names of all the priests of our diocese
In honor of the
who
priests who
contributed. Exactly.
What about the book that is?
Yeah, the
directly
book is a
behind me?
place where people could come in and write a prayer. All they had to do was really put their name. But as you can see from that book, of which I have another 50 or 60 books all filled, people write all kinds of prayers to Mary. Beautiful prayers that would make you cry. From help me, we can't have a child, we really need your help, to forgive me for the abortion I had, to husbands praying for their wives without them knowing it while they're pregnant.
Would it also be for parents who have lost children?
Absolutely.
Same thing.
That's in there.
And then on the wall, we're
Miscarriages.
seeing pictures of
Well,
all
on the
of this.
walls are
Yes.
pictures of babies that were born. People came to pray for the baby, and then when the baby was born, they bring the picture here, and to say thank you to Mary and to be protected by Mary. And these pictures that you see up here, I have boxes. We rotate them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where they all go.
Thousands.
I'm sure there's many more than this. So.
They go in boxes in a closet right behind you. And so they're always in this chapel, and so that's where the prayer books are as well.
And tell me what's
Well, I
on
put
the
that up there,
perimeter.
blessed is the fruit of your womb, to be ambiguous. Whose womb? The lady that's praying or her? Blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. So we wanted to say to people, even those considering an abortion, blessed is the fruit of your womb. And there are some very beautiful stories, miracles that happened. So I'm told. You know, for example, one couple went for a sonogram, and the sonogram showed that the baby had no arms. And the doctor said, you know, there's no way the baby's going to be born with arms. So the couple got scared, and the doctor said, you can abort the baby now, it's still time, or not. So they came here to pray, and we prayed, and obviously they prayed for the courage to deal with that kind of a child and the handicaps that would come. And they gave me the picture of the sonogram with the baby with no arms.
Right.
The baby was born completely whole, 2 arms. The doctor said it's not possible that the arms could have grown to normal length in such a short period of time. People have come from all over the world to tell us that they prayed to this Blessed Mother and some miracle happened to them with their child. literally all over the world.
So the story of this is actually reverberated
because
worldwide.
we
You have
printed
people
up
coming worldwide to see
Sure.
this from all over the world.
We printed up holy cards of this in Italian, in Spanish, and in English. 80,000 of them in the initial print. They all went all over the world. And it's quite a popular devotion, even though it's only here. And people do come for this. And what's beautiful, the stained glass window, like the ones in the church.
Yep.
It was put here for the baptistry, and it says Regina Parvulorum, which means Queen of the Little Children. So the chapel, the baptistry, was most appropriate for this kind of devotion. And it's constantly visited. People are always writing in the book. You see Arabic, Polish, Italian, Spanish in that book, Greek. You see all kinds of stuff in there of people praying for successful birth of their child or whatever. I'm very proud of this. This is one of the most powerful things in this church. We saw how beautiful the church is, how powerful it is. But this is the human part. This isn't about art and architecture. This is about the lives, the future of the parish, these babies.
It accentuates in a much different way.
Absolutely.
Well, Monsignor, I have to thank you so much for the tour. I appreciate it. This is certainly something we haven't seen before.
I know.
Which it's very much amazing. Thank you for the story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that wraps up this episode of City of Churches here at Regina Pacis. If you have any questions about this episode or any other episodes in these series, you can email us at netny.net. And until next time, we will see you right here on City of Churches.